Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? It's your boy Logan Taylor here with the Class in Session podcast. That's right, I'm your host, Logan Taylor. I have my amazing co host, Mr. Dontay Hampton, and we have a special treat for you all today. Listen, y'all gonna hear me say that every time because every educator that we bring on here is very special. So, again, this is the Class in Session podcast. I'm your host, Logan Taylor, with my amazing co host, Dontay Hampton. And let us introduce you to Mr. Kelcey Watson.
Yeah,
Good
so I'm gonna
morning,
give y'all a
guys.
brief background, just on Mr. Watson, where he comes from, what he's been doing. He's been doing some amazing things in our community, serving our community for over the past 20 years. So I'll just give y'all a brief background. He was born and raised in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where he went off to school and attended ETSU, where he graduated with a bachelor degree in criminal justice, with the emphasis on counseling. He worked as a counselor, adolescent counselor, and family counselor for 3 years up in Johnson City. And then he taught for 7 years in the Memphis City school system before returning home to coach in Hamilton County for over 14 years. He's currently, right now, the director of the middle school learning center at the Macaulay School. Some of you may know, some of you might not know. Macaulay is one of the most prestigious schools in the nation. They have very popular graduates such as Wayne Turner, a few guys who helped make Facebook, Snapchat, things of that nature. So they have a lot of scholars that come from there. Very prestigious school. He's married to his wife for over 25 years. He has two sons, Kendall and Cameron, and he helped found one of the first big AAU programs in Chattanooga that's been going strong for 10 plus, basically over a decade, Chattanooga Elite. And so he the one who really created the AAU scene for Chattanooga for basketball. So just a pleasure to have him on our show, and we're just happy to have him.
Thank you all for having me. I can't hear you, Logan. Muted.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine. How are you all?
Doing well. Wonderful. So I first want to say thank you for coming on with us. We really appreciate it. It's such a privilege and an honor to connect with you. We've been going, what now? I want to say like 4, 5 years now.
Yep.
Yep, been
It's my
going on
pleasure.
four or
My
five. Yes,
pleasure.
sir.
It's my pleasure. It's a pleasure to sit down and talk to you all. Love what you all are doing in the community as well. And just want to encourage you all to keep doing it, and anything I can do to support, I'm always here.
Absolutely. So just share a little bit of your journey with this. What made you want to get into the education space?
Well, as Dante shared, I initially started out with my bachelor's degree in criminal justice with an emphasis on counseling. So I did that for like 3 years, and the opportunity presented itself to go back to school and get my master's degree. And I felt that I could do more inside of a classroom instead of going from family to family as I was doing. In other words, I wanted to catch them a little bit earlier before they got to the point to where they needed the type of counseling that I was providing. So I went back to ETSU and got my master's degree in education. And from there, I went on to Memphis. And initially, my thoughts were I did not want people to know anything about my athletic background. Uh, and That was because in my mind there was a stereotype of African American teachers as being coaches only, or only in it to coach. And I wanted to break that stereotype. I wanted them to see me as an educator first. So that was one of my reasons for going and sort of hiding my athletic background. And then a coach, some of you all may know, his name is Jermaine Johnson. He now coaches at the University of Memphis. Uh, he said, Coach, he happens to be my frat brother as well. He said, Coach, you're shortchanging kids if you don't let them know that you can be both. And so at that point, I started to coach. Actually started coaching there. Uh, officially, I did do some AAU coaching here in Chattanooga prior to going back to get my master's stuff. But he was the one that sort of spurred me to share and utilize my background in athletics in order to continue to help kids.
Okay. What is something as far as like a perception or something about your job or your field that you think it's skewed a little bit? Would you say, or is there a myth out there that you think people say about education that's not correct or politically correct?
I would say that one thing is that a lot of people think that anybody can teach, and that's a common misperception uh, in my opinion. Um, it takes a very skilled person to create lessons, to present lessons in a digestible form to a lot of different young people that have different abilities. Um, and all the while, you have to maintain and manage, any type of social issues they may be having, any type of academic issues they may be having, any type of economic issues they may be having. You have to manage all of that and the different personalities of, you know, uh, depending on what age you're what age you're teaching. It could be 25 or less, but generally speaking, it's going to be right around 25. It could be as many as 35 in a class. Um, it's not optimum, but it happens. So I think that's one common misperception. I also think there's a misperception that um, the class day, your work day ends at when school is out, and for teachers, you're really never off. I'm always Mr. Watson. I'm always Coach Watson. If I go to Walmart, I'm Mr. Watson. I'm Coach Watson. You know, if I go to the movies with my wife, I'm Mr. Watson. I'm Coach Watson. And then, the summers, I hadn't had an off day this summer. Just to put it in perspective, I hadn't had an off day this summer. A lot of that is because of coaching duties, which is my choice. But at the same time, I'm still not off. We get paid for teachers generally get paid for 200 days of work, and so people look at it and say, "Oh, well, you only have to work 200." Well, that's what my contract says. If you want to pay me for more time, then that's fine. Pay me for the other days that I'm not off. You know, so that's another common misperception. So you know. So it's a lot of different things that go into it that people just don't see the ins and outs of it. But you're never, it doesn't end at the end of the day, and it doesn't end when school is out. For us, we're always, Mr. So and so or Coach so and so.
Awesome, definitely. So
Like
I just wanna talk about something. I wanna because you talked about being able that it doesn't turn off with you being Coach Watson or Mr. Watson as the teacher. How do you find balance with doing that? Because I know you've been married for 25 years, and so that's man, it's not you don't see people being married like that, right? And so how are you able to balance that home and work life balance? How are you able to do that?
It's tough at times. The first thing is to have a supportive wife. Uh, and that's not always easy. You come across some coaches and teachers and things like that, and they just don't have a supportive spouse. And it may not be that they like what you do or even enjoy what you do, but they respect what you do, and that's important. So I think that's the first thing is to have someone that supports and respect what you do. Uh, but it's really tough. It's a little bit easier now because um, when I was at Tyner, uh, I was there for 13 years, And, and Dante realizes this, you have even an early practice or you have a late practice. Well, if you have an early practice, well, cool, that's cool. But, you might get home by 7 after you put the, practice uniforms in the washer and go back in the morning and put them in the dryer and all this type of stuff. So you might get home by 7, but if you have a late practice at 6, that's a long day. So you're looking at somewhere around 8:50, and you might get home about 8:50 that night. And that's a little more difficult. I don't really have that issue where I am now because we have enough facilities. And so I'm happy about the fact that Tyner is getting, well-deserved facilities because that's going to help the coaches and the teachers out as well.
Right. Definitely. I definitely understand them practices, man. It's brutal right now.
Yeah.
It's very brutal with one gym. So we making it work, but we excited. Question for you as far as, so I got this thing where I ride the line a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to put you in the hot seat for a quick second. If
All right.
there's a value as far as a teacher, is there a number you could pay a teacher for her to, let's say, be stable enough to where we could lower the burnout as far as teachers quitting, as far as administration? Do you think there's a number or a value that could literally make teaching more attractive, or that could just simply, I would say, turn the narrative a little bit as far as educators being underpaid? Or do you think there's a package out there possibly? And then I'll let you know what I think as well.
Okay. Great question. I'm not sure that there's a value because most teachers don't get into it for pay. They understand that their pay is going to be, there's only a certain ceiling to it. There's going to be a certain ceiling to it. And it depends on, what city, what county, what state you're in. But most teachers don't get into it for pay. They understand that that's going to be limited to a certain extent. So I'm not sure if there's a pay, but I do think that there's an atmosphere that you can create within the school environment that can make it more attractive for teachers to come in, for professionals to come in and teach and be productive and be happy about what they're doing and what they're accomplishing in the classroom. I think connection to the community is important. That helps decrease burnout in my opinion, because when you know your why, it's a lot easier to go to work because it's not this is why I was put here. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so when you know your why, it's a lot easier to go to work. So that's a paradigm shift that each particular educator has to go through and knowing their why. But I don't think there's a particular number. In Memphis, when I taught in Memphis, it was I was paid significantly more than I was here in Hamilton County. And I'm paid a little bit more now. That didn't necessarily change my why. In fact, my why hasn't changed at all. The demographics has changed a little bit, but who I do, why I do what I do, and who I do it for, those things hadn't changed.
Okay. Now, the only reason I said that, it's very important that you said your why, but I think in today's time, if we could create packages for teachers, let's say a car plan, finding a home in that area. I do know when I was doing some research that in the Corpus Christi area, in a small county there, they help first-time teachers get housing and with a car stipend. But I just thought that might be more attractive to young people because you need a good base of young and old in your building if you're trying to have I guess or a community sense anyway. So I just felt like, if you had a package there, then you can get somewhere. Because at the end of the day, everybody has to have something to live for. Got to live off something. So if you take care of the basic needs, I think teachers will be able to excel more, and also they'll be mentally a little bit more focused, knowing I'm going home to something I own, because that's going to create equity for yourself. In a sense, you can sell that home, you can sell that car. So just something thinking outside of the box. But
Right. And actually, to tag on, I agree with you wholeheartedly. There was a program that I don't recall exactly which entity was actually putting on that program or supporting that program, but it involved police officers, it involved teachers, it involved firefighters. And what happens is when you live in that community, you have an investment in that community. So it's like, you're going home. A lot of teachers may drive in. Uh, I've worked at schools and they drive in from a whole nother county and try to teach kids that are in that community. And it's like you really don't have a true connection to that particular community. So
right.
that doesn't mean that you don't feel invested. That doesn't mean that you can't do a great job. It just makes it a little bit tougher, because if I live next door to the guy I'm teaching, their parents know me, and that was a big thing, and it still is a big thing. Is I share my life. I share my life with students. I share my life with parents. I share my life with the people I work with, and so there's no doubt about who I am if you're really watching. People will create their own image of you in their head, but I'm not responsible for that. I'm responsible for who I am and what I do. Uh, and when you have a person that lives across the street from you that you teach, and their parents see you each and every day, they see the work you put in, then all of a sudden that it's a little bit easier to teach that kid, because that's who you see them every day. You see, oh, but shoot, man, they had a fire last night, or they got in a little bit later, so he may be a little tired, or his grandmother's in the hospital, so he got some things on his head, you know.
Absolutely.
So you're able to relate. There's more of a connection. Or they had a little league football game last night, so
Right.
it's that connection piece. So I agree with you. It's just when you live in the community that you teach in, it's a lot of different things that could be beneficial on the part of the teachers or the educators and the students and the community at large.
Okay. Get in here, Logan. Get him something, man. Get him, Logan.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, coach, you really dropping some wisdom. I think a lot of people missing it, but you really dropping some bars. Like it's really really big. You talked about being in the community and how you've seen other teachers from different communities or different counties, better yet, drive into, the county that they're teaching in, and they're missing that connection. It's funny that you say that. Let me ask you this: what are your best ways? And you can give me two, three, four, however many you could think of. What are your best ways for building relationships with students?
Man, the first thing I think is you have to have a sense of empathy. Um, you have to be genuine. You have to be authentic. And if I don't like what you did, I'm gonna tell you that. you know and I think students can appreciate that. I think parents can appreciate that. Now, I'm gonna not gonna come off the top. you know the first thing you have to do is have that relationship before you try to criticize, before you try to do certain things. But I share my life, as I said before. In the past, I've tried to hide my athletic background. I was encouraged not to do that. Not and Jermaine was right. He was right to tell me that. And so in doing that, especially uh, for lack of a better term, sports crazed environment, people can connect with me because, hey, I want to do what you did. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get there and do what you did, or they understand that what I'm saying is coming from a space of concern. They understand that it's coming from a space of I've been there and done that, uh, and it's coming from a place of I'm being really genuine with you right now. I'm not hating. I'm not, you know, trying to pour water on your fire or trying to, you know, I'm just telling you how this is. And people understand that when you've shared your life with them and been really genuine with them. I mean, people can tell you stuff, and different classes will have different experiences because sometimes I just let it flow, you know. In a class, if something comes up, I'll tell them about an experience that I've had similar to what we're talking about, you know. Uh, but I think that's the biggest thing is just be open, be genuine. When they understand that you're not this robot that's, you know, I got to go to the bathroom too. You know what I'm saying? I got to use the
Yeah.
bathroom too. You know what? I eat. I like to go out
Yep.
and party sometimes. You know,
Right.
so when they understand that you're not this robot that's just, you know, operating off of things that's written on a piece of paper, then, you know, it's a whole lot easier to connect with them, you know, and understand what they're going through, understand their dreams and where they want to be, and help them get there.
Uh, That's good. That's good. That's definitely good. So you're saying basically, open that door for them. Open that door.
Open the door. You know, ironically, this is the full circle of life right here. You know, before we came on the air, I was in a room upstairs and there wasn't enough light. So this is just to connect the audience with what was happening. There wasn't enough light so you could see my mug or whatever. But so many years ago, Dante sat in that same room.
Yeah, I was in that
You
same
remember
room.
that? Yeah, Dante sat in that same room. We were talking about, you know, college options, how to get
Yep.
recruited and stuff like that. He was going to his high school senior year. Uh, and that was in that same room that I just walked out of. So uh, nothing has changed about, you know, that. Even back then, that's what I was trying to do uh, with young people, and you know, uh, that's sort of how we sort of connected.
I got you. Now, if there's something you can change as far as education on the national scale, what I mean by national scale, as far as a policy you don't agree with, as far as the requirements for being an educator, the requirements for being an administrator, retirement plans, or is there anything you think if it was you in that position, what would you change as far as a policy or something on a national scale for education, whether that be standardized testing? I know they're thinking about waiving ACTs and SATs. Is there
Right.
anything you think, as far as on your end, if you was in that position on a national scale, that you would change?
Yeah. I would say the first thing that I would do is reduce testing, reduce the
Okay.
amount of testing. Um, it's really teachers spending an extraordinary amount of time uh, testing, specifically compared to private schools, because I've been on both sides of the coin now. Uh, Public schools spend significantly more time than private schools on testing. Um, it's like we spend a whole lot of money and time and energy focused on trying to prove that teachers are doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know, how about hire the professionals, hire people that are going to be professional and let them do their job? And you know, I think that's one thing that could be changed is, you know, and I also want to say that I would change the way that teachers are evaluated. It's really tough to evaluate, or a large part of a teacher's evaluation is based off of, you know, what students do over a 4 or 5 day period. And you don't know what that child has been going through in that 4 or 5 day period, you know. And, you know, you say, okay, what happens is teachers end up teaching to the test because I mean, you're not gonna make me look bad. I'm gonna teach you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
If
you're
this is
gonna
gonna be
protect
the test,
yourself.
exactly. this is my job, my livelihood. This is how my family eats. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna teach to the test. If this is what's going to be on the test, then I'm going to teach you how to pass this test. But that really education? Are they really learning? If you ask a kid why they went to school, or if you ask a parent why they sent their kid to school, they'll say to learn. They didn't say to pass that test. They didn't even say to get an A or B or a C or D. I would also, that sort of segues into my next thing is how we consider promoting kids from one grade to another. How we're grading. And I don't know that I have the answer to it, but I don't know that it is all right now, because right now, if you say a child is in a classroom, by all means, an A seems to indicate that they know a certain amount of information on that in that particular subject matter. Well, an A over here may not be an A over here. You see what I'm saying? So it's not necessarily objective. So I'm not sure that the grading system is it. And what happens is you got let's say, excuse me, you have a child that wants to get an A but has a B right now. Will that child go outside of their character in order to get that A? You see what I'm saying? So when a child comes to school and they say that my primary objective is to learn, that whole experience is very different than I'm going to get an A, because I can look off Dontay's paper and get an A. I can look off Logan's paper and get an A. I can get an A. I come in with a baseball cap with the answers on top. This is college, so and I'm not saying I did this, but I can get an A. But if your primary objective is to learn, that's something totally different. And your approach when you enter that class is something totally different. Your parents' interaction with the teachers and the administrators are totally different when your primary objective is to learn. If you want an A, I guarantee you a teacher can put an A on their report card. I guarantee you. It may not get any type of backlash over it. Yeah. A teacher can give you an A if that's what you want. But you may be illiterate in the end. You may not do well on standardized tests, which is a whole different topic. I'm not sure I'm in favor of that at all. But
no, you're not. You're done.
Yeah, so I'm just not. We have to change the focus from being on achieving a certain grade to actually achieving a certain level of learning and competence.
Right. Absolutely. I think it's important because
I agree with what he's saying.
Yeah, I agree too, because you see it day in and day out where as teachers they're frustrated with that specific student, and so they're like, yo, I gotta get this student out of my classroom. Right. You know what I'm saying? And you're not really connecting with that scholar to figure out like, hey, why are they struggling? What are the issues that they're having? Why did they have a bad day? It's like you said, like being transparent with those scholars or those students to let them know like, yo, hey, this is why, he's having a bad day. Oh, you lost your mom? I lost my mom too at a young age. You know what I'm saying? Making it relatable. And I think a lot of times what happens is that in the education space, you have some teachers that can't make some things relatable, right? They may work in an urban school, and you don't get some teachers don't understand that, working in an urban school, they don't understand how some of the students, act or how they're dealing with certain things and trauma and things of that nature. And so I think like once you really take a deep dive into, these scholars and how you can help them and how you can, be there for them and support them, then I think that we can start to change the narrative. And now you won't have that problem where we're just trying to pass them through and hurry up and get them out of my classroom because I
Right.
had a bad year with them, or whatever the case may be.
Right. And the curriculum is structured in such a way, you know, that it's like because of the standardized testing, you have to get through a certain amount of
Yeah.
that curriculum, or they won't do well on the standardized testing. Well, we all know we've all seen popcorn pop, and each kernel pops at its own pace. You know what I'm saying? It pops when it's ready. So and the students are the same, scholars are the same, kids are the same. They develop at their own pace, and that pacemate is unique for them. So there's an old Asian saying that says the teacher will appear when the student is ready, right?
That's a bar, Coach Watson.
Huh?
That's a bar right there. That's a
Yeah.
bar. That's a bar. Say that again for the people that may not have heard. That's a bar right there.
The teacher will appear when the student is ready. So, a lot of times they're not ready to receive what you have going on. So but once the student is ready, then they'll realize, oh, I get what you're saying now, you know. But the student has to be ready to receive that. The teacher has always been there. The teacher's always been there. You know, oftentimes we say, man, that person was right when they were telling me this, but we weren't ready to receive it. As a student, we weren't ready to receive it. Man, I wish they had done this, that, and the other. Uh, that's the interruption I was talking about right there. uh, but you know, that's the thing. And sometimes that's a thing of building a relationship with those students. And once that relationship is developed, now okay, they see you as a teacher, and now they see you as someone that can benefit and add value to their life, and then now they're in a teachable space. They're in a space where they can learn something from you. But if your first thing is to try to hammer them in a way, it's not going to work. They're going to close up to you way before they open up to you.
Now, Mr. Watson, at McCullough, I know y'all a private school. How's y'all grading scale? Is the same as college, or is y'all's they do like that 87 to 93? Is y'all scale the same, or how is that for the private school over there at McCullough?
It's a little bit different, but it's similar. It's a little bit different. It's more like 90 to 100, something like that. And the GPAs are calculated a little bit differently because we have some that are taking AP courses or
Right.
college level courses or stuff like that actually adds value to your. So if I'm taking an AP calculus class, that's going to count a little bit more towards my GPA than a regular calculus class. So it's stuff like that, but it's very comparable.
I just found it funny that all these public schools, we have this grading scale, and you want everybody to go to college. I'm like a uniform guy. Like if the foundation ain't right, it ain't right. If I wake up in the morning, I don't feel right, it ain't gonna feel right. I'm gonna have to adjust, but it ain't gonna feel right. But it's just crazy how everybody, like, you go to college, we pressure you to go to college, and your grading scale is not even the same going to college.
That's right. It's not.
So you got kids who make an 85, and basically you're saying they're not sufficient enough to basically have a 3.0 or B average, when necessarily if you go to college, that's a B average.
Right.
So
yeah,
I just found like little skews like that. Just they really irritate me, because you hindering a lot of kids that will miss out on money or miss out on opportunities off a few points.
Right. And that's important to to recognize, is that and like I said, all A's and B's are not created equally.
Correct.
And so that's a thing that needs to be fixed. And I think that's part of the reason why the ACT and the SAT, for what it's worth, I'm not necessarily on board with those things, those methods of college admissions and stuff like that. But I think that's one of the reasons why they exist, is because they're saying we're going to measure. This is one standardized way that we can measure every student, but every student does not necessarily take tests the same way, and the language involved in those tests aren't necessarily the language isn't necessarily uniform for in everybody's life. So there may be some words that are consistently used in one segment of society that aren't consistently used in other segments of society, and sometimes what they intend to measure, they don't necessarily measure. I'll use this example. For years, I taught math, and sometimes, especially, I think everybody experienced a little bit of disequilibrium or a little struggle with math word problems. And a lot of times people would be just fine if you say, okay, what's 32 divided by 4? Oh, they spout out 8, boom, boom. You can give them 100 problems like that, 100. And you put that same problem in context in a word problem, and now all of a sudden they don't know how to solve it. Well, it's not that they don't understand the math. They didn't understand the language, or they didn't necessarily read. They don't necessarily read well. So now we're judging their math grade based off of their reading comprehension. You see what I'm saying? So it's things like that that really need to be fixed and adjusted. Or you go into algebra, or I had a thing in class where I wouldn't, if we're working on algebra, then here's a calculator. I'm not grading your computational skills right now. I'm grading your algebraic thinking. So if I'm not grading that, why will I hold you accountable for something that I'm not grading you on? So here's a calculator. I'm just seeing what your algebraic thinking is like, and if you can justify why you have that answer. I'm not grading you whether you know what 2 times 7 is. Shoot, multiply the doggone thing and move on, because I need to see if you understand algebraic thinking. So, but yeah, that's sort of my. I'm sorry to go on that. I think
it's all good.
Nope. You ain't even gotta apologize for it. We told you in the beginning. This is here to help somebody. So let me ask you, what is one piece of advice you'd give to someone that's starting out being a teacher? I know you've been a teacher for quite some time. I know you've crossed over into many different spaces. What is one piece of advice you would give to somebody that's starting out wanting to be a teacher?
I would say the first thing is to substitute while you're in undergrad and early in undergrad. Go substitute to see if that's really for you. If you feel a certain type of way about how a certain student or students or classroom is functioning, or operating, or behaving, that gives you some insight to that. Plus you make a little money. So so you learn on the job, so to speak. So I would, and I would do that in a couple of different spaces. I would do that. I think we understand that the population is quite different at different schools. Try it at different schools to
Absolutely.
see. I would also attend a school board meeting. Attend a school board meeting. You get to understand how the people that are making decisions are thinking, and you get to understand, if that's something that, if you vibe with the type of decisions they're making and their justification on why they're making it. I think we all know of certain Board of Education members that, for whatever reason, can't seem to take all of Hamilton County students into consideration when making decisions. And if you see that, are you okay with that? Um, and what are you going to do about it? What are you willing to do about it? Um, I would research um, the longevity of leaders in the school system. For example, how long has the superintendent been there? What happened to the last superintendent? What about the superintendent before that? That sort of gives you some an idea of the stability of that particular school system. What about the principals? If you want to go to, I don't know, I'm going to use Tyner because I'm so familiar with it. If you want to go to Tyner, well, you know, what is the lineage of principals been like over there? What's the leadership been like over there? Okay, well, he's been there forever. Okay, well, that says something because every time leadership changes, they have the ability to bring in their own philosophy and all of that type of stuff, mission statements and stuff like that. And then it changes over, so how you first came into the school building, more than likely it will change or it may change, but it also depends on what school you're in. So I know at Tyner Middle we had maybe 6 or 7 principals in the time that I was there.
Wow.
That's a lot of changeover. That's a lot of
Yeah.
personal
A lot of
philosophy.
turnover.
Yeah, that's a lot of, and it wasn't necessarily because they were bad principals. I don't think any of them were bad principals um, or bad administrators. I think it was a thing. I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. So, of course, we experienced the death of one of them, uh,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and I thought he was on to some good things, and that was unfortunate. But there have been other situations where principals are moved here, moved there, and but in other schools, uh, the leadership is more consistent, and when you have consistency, then you can build some momentum and experience a little bit of you just get some momentum going, and everybody understands, or everybody gets on the same page and understands everybody's role. Uh, you know, uh, and I mean, and then you have some veteran teachers there that sort of help nurture you into your new environment as a new teacher.
Right.
So I would definitely do some research on the school system, um, as well as the schools, and volunteer in order to help me, you know, make sure that this is the right thing I want to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you have that longevity with the administration or with the, like you said, veteran teachers, now you have a sense of culture
That's
because now we have a identity on who we are, what we're doing, where we're doing it, why we're doing it. And then everybody can come together as a community or a family, however you see it. And then now we can be able to change the culture or whatever the culture may be, right?
right.
Um, so just different things like that. But that was really good advice. So substitute and do your research. Those are the two things. So
Yes,
anybody that's wanting to be a first year, that's going
Yeah.
into your first year wanting to teach, make sure you substitute and make sure you do your research and substitute at different schools, like Coach Watson said.
Different spaces. Make sure you tap into those different spaces so you can get those different perspectives. Perspective is
exactly.
everything. So for sure.
All right, last question before we get up out of here. I know you got a busy day. I know Dante got some things to do. So do I. Today is my
I'm gonna
baby
get
boy's
Dante out
birthday.
on the golf course finally.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
I'm actually about to get some more golf clubs. You say that the ones I got are pretty old, so give me a couple weeks, man. I got
Well,
to
where you
get
gonna get them
back.
from? Let
Uh,
me know, because I got the
I'm,
old Rams from Walmart.
nah, I'm gonna have to. A guy I met, man, he's supposed to help me out, so we'll see how they go.
Okay,
If it turns out good, I'll turn them on to you.
okay, good stuff.
I bought my first pair since y'all talking about golf. I'm something like a pro a little bit, but
Okay, I didn't know that.
I bought my first
He talked like
pair
a pro. That's what he meant to
about 2
say.
years ago. I actually went to Moccasin Bend and played my first 18. So that was a really really dope experience. I loved it. I came in second. So out of yeah, it was three of us, and I came in second. So it was a really good experience. I loved it though.
It's cool, like it's cool.
Yeah, and it's real cool. It's just you have to be strong mentally,
Yeah,
and you have to like really lock in. Like you can't do like you're doing basketball, right? Like I can get a couple shots in with basketball, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. I feel good. Well, I can't do that with golf,
right,
right?
right.
Like I remember at first I was like swinging the golf club like I was swinging a bat, and I was like, bro, I can't do that. And my cousin was like, well, you got to keep your elbow in. You got to keep your head down. You got to follow through when you swing. Like I wasn't following all the way through. So I would lift up right in the middle and then I would miss the ball completely.
Yeah, you're trying to see where the ball's going.
Yep. I'm just like this. I'm like, ooh, ooh, where'd
Yeah,
it go? It's still down there on the ground.
yeah. It's very technical.
Yep.
Very
Absolutely.
technical. We have to get out there sometime.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, coach. Last question. Last question. Um, Actually, no. I got two more questions.
All right.
So let's talk about this real quick. Why did you start one of the most prominent AAU programs in the city? We never really got into that, and I want to touch into that. Why did you do that? How does you teaching and coaching basketball? How do those two tie in together?
Well, I think the first thing is that is those are it sort of combines two of my passions, and that's education and athletics. Uh, and so my thing was, and first before I even go that far into it, I want to say that a lot of people look at me as like the guy, and in reality, it was a number of us that got together and decided that this was what Chattanooga needed. So I want to make sure that those people are recognized, and I'm not, it's too many to call names, but it wasn't just me. Uh, that but I think that it combined two of my passions, and our whole thing is to make higher education more affordable uh, for young men, and eventually young women. So um, that's sort of the impetus of it. I want to say, so if it be through a basketball scholarship, great. That way you get to continue to do what you do while getting your education paid for. If it be through an academic scholarship, great. If it be through a football scholarship, great. I really don't care. You know, um, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, he went to, uh, College of Charleston, or which is no sneeze at all." Or he went to Davidson, but he only got there because of his ACT scores. Did he pay less because of that? That's all I need to know. Did he pay less because of that? And and he did some things to get into Davidson, and I want to make sure that you know uh, that student athlete understands what they need to do. This is what you say you want to do. Here's what you need to do. So the community service aspect, the ACT component, as well as the basketball, and my it's very important to me that the guys, parents are trusting us with their children, and it's important that good guys are around them. You know, uh, most of the guys that are coaching in our program, they have college degrees. They have some college experience or playing experience. You know, so that's what we're looking at. And it's not that you have to, check that box in order to do it. It's just an added value because you can say something to that child from a place of experience that allows them to. Why wouldn't I want Dontay to coach in my program? That would be crazy. Why wouldn't I want Logan to coach in my pro? That would be crazy for me not to want that. You know, knowing the type of men you all are, knowing the type of value you add to a kid's life, those are the types of things that we really want uh, for young men. So that was sort of the impetus behind doing all of that. We've always felt that Chattanooga is undervalued as a recruiting spot. It's surrounded by Nashville, Atlanta, overshadowed by Memphis to a certain extent, and rightfully so. Uh, to a certain extent, especially in the case of Memphis and Atlanta. But it's really tough because I think even in the Chattanooga community, we don't understand all of the factors that go into an Atlanta being an Atlanta, or Memphis being a Memphis, or Nashville being a Nashville for that matter. We don't have a professional sports uh, here other than the Lookouts and the soccer team. I take that back. And those are, Lookouts have been around forever. But when you consider, major leagues, we don't have that. Okay. Well, it's a couple of things about human nature that I understand, and that is, those major leaguers, they're going to reproduce. And those genes that come from major leaguers, from NBA players, from NFL players, from the soccer, Major League Soccer, MLS, those genes are going to go into those kids. And if they stay in that community, then that community has an advantage, such as Nashville, such as Memphis, such as Atlanta. Number two, all of those cities have multiple major colleges. And those major colleges have what? Sports. Now, you all have experienced it. You know what's happening on college campuses. You're gonna meet you're more than likely gonna meet your significant other right around that area or in that space, and they're gonna reproduce. So, you know, we're battling something because we have UTC, Chat State. You can count Covenant if you like, uh, and that's pretty much it. I hope I'm not leaving out anybody. So I'm not purposely doing that. But the it's a gene pool. Those are bigger cities, and you have more uh, athletes that are reproducing in those areas. So we have to do something to differentiate ourselves from those groups and to stand out in a special way. And it may not be that we wow them with athleticism or wow them on the basketball court. It may be that we can all compete in the classroom. We can all make ourselves more marketable and more attractive to a coach by doing those types of things, performing well on standardized tests,
Absolutely.
performing better in the classroom. We can all do that. We can all differentiate ourselves by doing community service and having high character. We can differentiate ourselves in those ways. And so, my thing, one of my favorite things is say control the controllables. And those are the things that we can control. We can't control who we play when we go to Virginia Beach. We can't control that. We can't control what teams have done and where they've gotten guys from and how tall they are. We only got what we got. We are who we are, and we just have to be the best version of ourselves. And so, but that's a long way to say that. A long roundabout way to say is that we felt underexposed. Uh, we felt that we had some things to contribute to the college basketball scene, and it may be one, it may be two in a particular class, it may be D1, it may be D2. That's not for us to decide. Our thing is to just try to provide a platform and to try to help them provide the skills in order to get there. And I think we pretty much done that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You can tell. I love the grit. Like you can tell with your program, the grit that every player, every coach has, because that's the culture that you've built. Like, I don't care what anybody says. We blocking the noise out. Like you said, control the controllables. We have what we have, and this is what we're gonna do. This is how we're gonna maximize this opportunity, and we're gonna go forward, and we're gonna put our best foot forward. Like, I love it. I've even seen that with you when being in the classroom with students. Like, the same thing, control the controllables. Like, I've seen some kids get, get a little rowdy, and I've seen how you've handled that with such grace, right? I've seen how you talk to them being firm and stern, and it's like, oh, okay, Coach Watson ain't playing. Like, I need to sit down. You know what I'm saying? But I've also seen where you played with them and laughed with them and let them cut up and things of that nature. So I think it's really, really, really awesome to see how you tie those two together and be able to balance it all out, because you can see your imprint in those things that you do.
Thank you.
All right. So last question. And I know, like I said, I know y'all got to get up out of here. If do you think that eventually down the line, do you think that you would ever get into administration?
No.
Why not?
Well, let me back up, and I will say no in public school. So, and the reason why I say that is sometimes I tend to oversimplify things, and to me, here's the deal, man. Did you do it or did you not do it? Did you do it? Yes. Oh, well, there's a consequence for that. Now we'll talk about, the circumstances surrounding why you did it. But if you did it, there's a consequence for that. And I'm not going to talk, there's sometimes there's too much finagling there. And I think there's a time and space to consider the circumstances surrounding actions. There's definitely that. But sometimes if you slap somebody across the head, was there another option? And did you know about that option of how to deal with that? So it's things like that. And yeah, that part of it I would not care for. I also think it takes me way away from, even though I could impact strategy, which is a huge part of this. I think there will be a certain amount of that I could do. I think it'll take me away from the daily interactions with kids, or it could take me away from the daily interactions with kids, and that's something that I don't necessarily want. Excuse me. In my current capacity, I serve on a couple of different committees. One would be diversity in the workplace and in the student population, helping to improve that at Macaulay. And the other thing is diversity in the curriculum. So there are ways that you can serve in which you can still impact strategy, impact its use on its impact on kids, and still continue to interact with young people on a personable level, and not just be sometimes confined to the office. Now, some principals do that wonderfully, as far as being out and about and interacting with young people, and then they have to go in the office and tend to their principal duties. I just think that from my personality and how I like to simplify things, that's not a good fit for me. Even though I've been asked a couple of times to go in, I just don't think that's the best fit for me. You know,
Absolutely.
I also think I'm gonna throw this in there because even though you didn't ask, because it goes along, and I apologize, Dante. I'm gonna get, but,
It's all
but
good.
uh, you know, I think too often, and I say that, and if I had to guess, I'm getting ready to enter my 24th year of teaching. My 24th year, all but 3 of those have been in urban settings, and I may have written 7 referrals, tops, tops. There's a way to go about relating to young people in a way that we don't make them feel as though um, they're a bad person.
Mm.
You know, uh, that was a bad choice and behavior, but there's a difference between your behavior and who you are. I've made bad choices. We all have. But there's a difference between who you are and what you did, unless you consistently do it. Then it becomes part of you. Uh, and I've been in situations uh, and where a child forgets a pencil in a classroom. That's the stuff children are going to do, you know. And a teacher makes a big deal out of it, and you know, well, first off, you stop teaching. You know, you allowed that. You made it more of a distraction than they did.
Absolutely.
You know, give the doggone little boy a pencil and go on with your lesson, man. You know what I'm saying? Give him a pencil. Now he's in a bad way. And some even went as far as to, you know, write a note or do this, that, and the other. Or if they do it a certain number of times, it's going to be a referral. And now they're feeling a certain way about themselves. Um, and I can't co-sign for that. In fact, I've said stuff to people about that. Co-workers or not, it is what it is. I didn't come to work for you. I came to work for the kids. You may or may not be here, but the kids will always be here. Uh, so, you know, and so now you have a situation where young people may or may not feel a certain way about themselves, and you know, and they could, you know, that we have what's called a curriculum file in public schools. You have what's called a curriculum file. Excuse me, not a curriculum file. A basically, it's a file that follows you throughout your time in Hamilton County.
Your log, pretty
Yeah,
Yeah,
much.
I know
right.
exactly what you're talking about. I had one of those.
Yeah, and so, and it's going to go from school to school, and they're looking, and if you just look casually, oh, they got in trouble. Oh, they got in trouble. They got written up for this. They got suspended that. They got written up for this. But if you look closely, he didn't have a pencil 5 times. He talked in the hallway one, and
Yeah.
then cussed at me because, you know, when I said something to him about talking. Well, that's a stupid rule in the first place. What did you do in the hallway when you were in middle school? You
Yeah.
know, in fact, what do they do in the middle school at Signal Mountain? What do they do in the hallway at Signal Mountain? What do they do in the hallway at Macaulay or Notre Dame? You know, so we can't continue to um, let children get in trouble for being children. That's what you did when you were in middle school. Dante, you get in trouble for talking in the hallway. Logan, you get in trouble for talking in the hallway. I mean, that's what you. Did you ever forget your pencil? Did you? I mean, and I'm just saying this to adults. Like, you've done that behavior,
Right.
and when we consistently try to make it seem like a child is bad, or there's a certain type of way for being a child, children are going to forget stuff from time to time. Children are going to talk in the hallway. If you can't talk in the hallway, you can't talk in the classroom. When are they supposed to learn social skills? I mean, come on now, you know. And
Yeah.
so I just, I want all the educators that ever that happen to come across this session to understand that we can't continue to uh, villainize children for being children. Uh, they're going to do childlike stuff. They're not many adults, they are children. And understand that they're going to make mistakes, love them through their mistakes, show some empathy. Would you like for your child to be treated in that manner if they were doing childlike stuff? So I just had to throw that in there because it was on my heart. Sorry.
No, you
Appreciate
all
the advice,
good.
the value. Definitely needed.
Absolutely. All right. So, Coach Watson, before we get out of here, again, I just want to say thank you, thank you so much for everything that you've done being an educator. I'm glad that that we've connected paths. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. Thank
It's my
you
pleasure.
for pouring into these babies all of the years that you have. Like I know they don't pay you all enough, but I
Your
just want to
service.
show a token
It's
of
definitely important that
appreciation
we acknowledge your service.
and show a token of appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me, and thank you all for creating this platform for discussion. And, you know, I don't approach this whole thing like I got everything figured out or, so, uh, it'll be interesting to watch, and listen to other educators share their experiences as well. So I look forward to that. And again, thank you
Absolutely.
for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, guys. So before we get out of here, listen, man, make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you like. If you are interested in wanting to learn more about teaching, coaching, anything like that, listen, get in touch with Coach Watson, Kelcey Watson. Listen, a powerful man. So again, I am your host, Logan Taylor, my amazing co-host, Dontay Hampton. And again, guys, thank you so much. This is Class in Session, and we'll talk to you all next time. See you soon. Thanks.